Hi, I'm HISD Board President Anna Eastman. Coming up today on HISD Up Close, students at elementary schools across the district will have plenty to read this summer, thanks to the efforts of two enterprising moms from HISD. We'll meet these ladies and learn more about their program and how you can help. Plus, it may be the summer, but HISD Food Services is continuing to make sure our students are well fed. We'll explain, plus HISD's Chief Financial Officer and Government Relations Director stop by to break down this year's legislative session and what it means to public education. That's all today on HISD Up Close, and it begins right now. This year's legislative session in Austin was a bit confusing when it came to public education. There were bills related to funding, testing, and a whole lot more. So what finally made it to the governor's desk for his signature, and what does it all mean for HISD staff, students, and parents? Here to break it all down for us is the district's Chief Financial Officer, Ken Hewitt, and HISD's Government Relations Director, Veronica Garcia. Ken and Veronica, thanks a lot for coming on today. And so, Veronica, I wanted to start with you. I think there's going to be some new paths to graduation available to kids and a pretty different testing expectations, especially for our 9th grade and up.
Many of the parents out there may be aware already for our high school students. Current law says that they must take 15 end of course exams. And so what HB 5 did is it lowered 15 exams down to 5 exams, to where our high school students would only be required to take Algebra 1, English Language Arts 1 and 2, U.S. History, and Biology. Okay. So that's huge.
And those exams will not require that the results are part of the student's grade, nor is there any kind of cumulative requirement for graduation.
Correct. The bill did repeal that current requirement that the final exam account for 15% of the student's grade. So that would no longer apply. And it also repealed the requirement that these exams, that students achieve a certain cumulative score across all of the exams. Right. So that would be gone as well. So I think it remains to be seen as how this is all implemented and how our state law works along with the federal requirements.
So what about graduation plans?
Yeah, so there's been significant change in that as well, and that's in the same bill, HB 5. So right now there are 3 graduation plans. We have the minimum, recommended, and distinguished. That would change. With HB 5, it creates 1 foundation diploma, which consists of 22 credits, but then every student will be required to earn an endorsement. And folks can think of an endorsement as a major. And so a student would major in business and industry, in STEM, public service, the arts, and there's a multidisciplinary category as well. And that would give the student up to 26 credits at the end of their high school career.
And they're required to select one of those, but I think it's in their junior year. If for some reason they need to or have a strong rationale for going to the foundation plan, they, with their parents and a school counselor, can decide that that's the route they'll complete high school.
Correct. So going into their freshman year, each student will have to select one of these endorsements. Now they can change that as they move along their high school career, but after their sophomore year, if they decide, you know what, this endorsement, any endorsement track is not for me, I just want to graduate with the foundation plan, they can do that. And the student and the parent will have to meet with the counselor. They'll have to sign, something saying that they do understand what that means. There are some consequences of only graduating with the foundation plan, that being, for example, that the student will no longer be eligible to be the top 10% rule that applies to automatic admission into colleges, state colleges. They could no longer be eligible for that
if they're under the foundation.
If they're only under the foundation, correct.
Okay, so we have only about 3 more minutes, and Ken, I asked you to come today to hear a little bit about funding. And last session, all we heard about was cuts. How deep were the cuts going to be? They were pretty deep, and we know that the legislature has chosen to refund the foundation school program. And how do you think that's going to affect HISD?
Well, it's positive. As you mentioned, the last session we were cut deep. The first year we were cut $75 million, and then we came back in the current year that we're in, and we had to absorb another $46 million cut. So $121 million over these 2 years. Well, where they've started this year, based on what's come out of the legislature, still yet to be finalized. It looks like the net of what we're getting back is about $55 million this year, and which, when the session started, we were looking at zero, and to get $55 million, it's a step in the right direction, and so we're excited about that. But we're not there yet, as far as what's been taken away.
And so, what about the second year?
Second year, we obviously had to make a few estimates as far as how our property values would grow or whatever. But the second year looks like an additional $7 million, so $62 million in total.
I want to thank you both for coming on. I feel like we just touched the tip of the iceberg. All of this stuff is pretty complicated, and it has a lot of implications for our kids in HISD. So I know that we'll be keeping parents updated about how these decisions on graduation plans are going to affect our current freshman and sophomore kids who are operating under the 4x4 when they started high school. And then also keep the public updated on our budget. We will be voting on our budget for 2013-2014 on Thursday the 20th.
Thursday, June 20th.
I'm pretty sure, and so there will be lots of conversations between now and then as we have a clearer picture of exactly how much money we're going to get and how much money we need and what we want to spend it on in that school year.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, it may be summer, but that doesn't mean students need to take a break from healthy eating. Find out what HISD and the Houston Food Bank are doing to make sure our kids are well fed during the break. That's what's next when HISD Up Close returns. Throughout the school year, HISD Food Services serves millions of meals to students throughout the district, including breakfast, lunch, and even dinner at some campuses. Unfortunately, for many Houston kids, the food they receive at an HISD cafeteria may be the only nourishment they get each day. Joining us now to talk about the district's commitment to provide students with healthy meals over the summer break is HISD Food Services Manager Brian Giles. Along with him is Ann Svedson-Sanchez from the Houston Food Bank. Hi, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So when I was planning my show for this month, I remembered meeting you last year, Ann, at Burbank Elementary. There was a big celebration because Target and Heart of America Foundation had redone the Burbank Library, and it was the same day that parents were coming to take advantage of the food bank program that you have at Burbank, and I know other elementary schools. And I remember being incredibly blown away by not only the abundance of food, but the quality, what parents were getting. Fresh vegetables, blueberries, all these wonderful things. And as we head into summer, I know that kids rely on school for their meals during the week. Brian, you know, we serve breakfast to every child in elementary and middle school. They have lunch to take advantage of, and a lot of our schools have dinner now. And so I just wanted to hear from you all what summer looks like for our families, because they really rely on our schools for food, both at school and then at home through your programming.
Exactly. Summer is a period of time when children might not have access to nutritious foods. When they're in school, they have access to a breakfast and a lunch in every school district. So we worry about those kids that may not have it. So we do have summer feeding. HISD, City of Houston, other school districts, and the Houston Food Bank participate in summer feeding to help fill that gap and help those children who might be food insecure and maybe even experiencing chronic hunger.
Right. And so do you all maintain the programs like the one I saw at Burbank during the summer? Does that go on throughout the summer, or is that just during the school year?
We would like to expand. Those are called food fairs
Right.
at a school. We just need schools to say, hey, we'd like to have a food fair set up. And Burbank was a perfect example and a very well-run
Right.
food fair. We have lots and lots of produce at the Houston Food Bank.
A lot of produce.
So when you went there and you saw all the produce, it's 40% of what we distribute is fresh produce.
Right.
We want to make sure that people get foods that don't exacerbate any diseases they might have, such as diabetes or hypertension. So we try to push out healthy foods.
That's great. And how does a school, would they contact the food bank directly or contact us, go through food services? What's the best way for them to get
The best way
program
is to
put
go
in
to our
place?
website,
Okay.
HoustonFoodBank.org, and they have some prompts on, need help, and it'll get you to, I'd like to schedule a food fair, and that's how that would work.
And are those funded through the food bank and the philanthropic work that you all do and,
Yes.
and the rest of your budget? The school
it
doesn't
does.
have to
School does not pay a
ante
penny.
up or pay for that.
We do ask for them to have some volunteers available, which really sometimes is not a
Right.
problem, to help distribute the food and help get the parents through a line. And we have some accountability. We'd like to know how many families we are helping, how many children are being fed, some
Right.
statistics so that we can share that.
Okay, that's great. Brian, what do our summer feeding programs look like?
Well, I think it's one thing that I think that's very unique about Houston is you have a lot of agencies, government and non-government, working very closely on the hunger issue during summer. I think we pretty much have the city of Houston covered from that perspective, and that's really a fantastic thing because of our 202,000 plus students in the district, over 160,000 of those students have some level of economic need in their household, and that really translates to possibly not having the food that they need during the summer.
Right.
We serve summer breakfast and lunch through June through the middle of July at over 250 campuses, and students and families can go to the HISD website, houstonisd.org/free summer meals, or they can also call 713-491-5944 to get to learn of the school that's closest to them. Kids ages 1 to 18
come
can
and
simply go to the closest school or any school and go and eat a nutritious breakfast and lunch.
Wow, I didn't realize that they can go. You can come to any of the schools.
Any of the schools that are open and providing.
Do you have
that.
to show your affiliation with the school or the district, or you're just in that age range?
Within that age range, and that's really the fantastic thing about it is certainly one of the barriers to overcoming hunger is any type of overt identification, making
Right.
people feel nervous about the process, and so it's. Again, because it's paid by federal funding and other sponsors, it is a service that we're providing to the community, and especially to those kids who really need that nourishment during those hot summer days.
Right, and so that runs through mid-July.
Mid-July,
you said.
depending on the campus. Again, every school has a unique schedule, and so that's why we encourage kids and families to look on the website or give us a call, and we can give them the specific schedule for
And
their
do
school.
our regular food service workers run those programs?
They do, yeah.
throughout
So
the summer?
the kids will probably see very familiar faces behind the line and serving them, so that also provides an additional level
Right.
of comfort for those kids.
So I don't want to be redundant, but I just want to reiterate, you don't have to be enrolled in summer
You don't.
school. You don't have to show up with an ID.
No.
You just come, and to find out the locations and the hours, you go to the website or call
Or
the
call
number
the
again.
number,
What is that?
713-491-5944.
Okay.
And just one more plug. After summer school ends in HISD, we also provide information to families about where they can find those other services. Calling
that's-
211 or Ann, I think that's as well.
211 is the best place to go. They're going to tell
Okay.
you, even if you're outside of HISD's jurisdiction, you would want to go to 211.
What is 211? I don't know what that is. I know what 311 is. I know what 411 is, and 911.
211
What's
is the number you
211?
call when you need help with like services. I
Okay.
can't pay my electricity bills, or you just need some kind of support service.
Right.
And
And
that's where
what types
211.
of places serve meals during that break when we're not serving it? Is it
Parks and recreation
Okay.
programs, apartment buildings.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I know we always hear about Houston's booming, and we didn't go through as rough of a hit to our economy
Right.
as other cities did, but we still know we have lots and lots of kids who have the potential to be hungry and then have all these other effects as a result of that. And so I want to thank you guys for sharing this, and I want to thank Houston Food Bank for all they do for our families, and hopefully some of our principals or other people who are at local schools will watch this show and they'll be able to call you guys to get a food fair set up.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up, we pay tribute to the volunteers and community groups that make HISD great, including one that's working to make sure our students are equipped with some unmentionable essentials. We'll explain when HISD Up Close returns in a moment.
Getting into a great school should never be about who you know, where you live, or how much you can afford to pay. Because every child deserves a high-quality education. That's what we believe. In HISD, our schools and programs prepare students for college and give them opportunities to achieve their dreams.
I plan to study petroleum engineering,
business administration,
biology and psychology,
mathematics, nursing, and finance.
I want to be an astronaut.
I'd like to do Broadway.
I want to be a lawyer,
I'm a doctor,
artist, or a magician, or a teacher.
The success of HISD depends on the countless parents and community groups who donate their time, energy, and knowledge to our schools and our students. Recently, HISD celebrated the efforts of these volunteers at the district's annual VIPS breakfast and award ceremony. Nearly 24 individuals, local businesses, and community groups were honored for their contributions and commitment to HISD. The top honors went to parent Tomasita Garza, who received the Lifetime Achievement Award for her work at Furr High School, and HISD parent and grandparent Caronetta Jones, who received the Jean Davis Myers Award for her volunteer efforts. Take a look at why Clifton Middle School nominated Miss Jones for this prestigious honor.
I volunteer mainly because somebody saw something in me that I didn't see in myself a long time ago, and that was a teacher. I love helping teachers. I really love helping teachers because in helping those teachers, then I also get a chance to help the kids.
She is not just a volunteer, but she's an advocate for our parents.
I have done everything from copying to mop the floor, to sitting in the classroom, to reading with the kids.
Every time she does something, like something around the school, it's always done nice and perfect. Ms. Jones, she always says never to give up.
Our kids, because they see her every day, they know who she is, they love her, they find her as another parent that is here for them.
Everyone loves to be around her. I mean, all the students, whenever they get the opportunity to, she's just heartwarming.
It's those middle years that they really need us because that's when they're caught between two worlds. I'm too old to be in elementary and I'm not old enough to be in high school. I mean, most parents think, whew, I can take a break now they're in middle school. That's not when you want a break.
Parents are needed all the way through college. You're always going to need parental advice.
We want our parents all across the district to know there's room for all of us.
You cannot replace somebody like Cornetta Jones.
I cannot imagine the day when I'm not in somebody's school.
Parent involvement is important at HISD, but for some parents, just outfitting their child with the bare essentials they need for school can be difficult. That includes clean clothing and even socks and underwear. But thanks to a group called Undies for Everyone, HISD students are getting outfitted with the unmentionables they need. Joining us now is Amy Weiss with Undies for Everyone. Hi, Amy. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Anna. Good to see you.
So I was wondering if you could tell me how Undies for Everyone got started.
It started in 2008 as a project of the Initiative for Jewish Women, and a social worker, I wish I could remember who it was, actually mentioned to me in November when they're doing drives, when everyone's doing drives for toys, for disadvantaged kids. She said, you know, those kids really need clean underwear and socks. And at the time I blogged for the Chronicle, and I wrote one blog and got a bunch of underwear. And the next year, Waste Management was nice enough to give us boxes, and we put it around. And it's just grown, and now it's spun off into its own 501c3.
And so that's really a problem for kids, that not having enough underwear and socks.
It is. A lot of the donations really focus for school kids on food, backpacks, school supplies, and uniforms. But there really is no organization that is strictly doing underwear and socks. And it's really a basic dignity.
Right.
Right? And literally everyone can relate to that. And the great part about it is really almost anyone can participate, because someone can bring one package of underwear, or they could write a large check, or they could bring a lot of underwear.
Right. Where do you guys collect actual underwear? So say I was at Target, you know, stocking up for the new school year, getting ready for camp or whatever, and buying that for my kids, and I just picked up 5 extra packages. Where
we would
I
love
take
that.
them?
This year we have 8 different collection sites. They are on our website, undiesforeveryone.org, and they're in West Houston at, as it happens, synagogues this year, and we're expanding into businesses and churches. But this year it's 8 different synagogues, and they're all over the city. Or you can go on our website and put in a donation. We say that $18 can cover 15 tushes. So people are welcome to go online and make a donation, and we'll buy the underwear. We actually buy it at a discount.
Right, and then you can buy it in bulk, and more
we
kids
do.
are covered.
Literally.
Yes. You know, to make sure that kids have that security and basic dignity, like you said, is so important.
And they're embarrassed if they don't have underwear. Or a common occurrence, especially in the elementary schools, is the kids have accidents.
Right.
So we're providing 200 HISD elementary and middle school nurses with boxes of 50 pair of underwear.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
For accidents.
Yeah, and so this is the one thing, we're gonna have to wrap up in just a second, but where do you distribute the underwear to kids? Like, how do you identify where the need is, and then how would a family who wanted to take part from that end get
the underwear?
Undies? Yeah.
This year we're participating in the Back to School drive at the University of Houston, sponsored by the city, on August 10th.
Right.
And they are pre-registering 25,000 kids from 15 different school districts, and we distribute it that way.
Okay.
We have had to find the easiest way to find large amounts of people. So we'll be down there on August 10th.
And then will you be giving those 50 pairs of underwear
boxes
at the beginning of the school year, or do they get it over the summer, or have you already done that?
We have not done it. We will be sorting and putting in boxes over the summer, and then HISD very nicely comes and takes the boxes. Victory Packaging is providing all of the boxes, the 200 cardboard boxes.
Yeah, they do a lot of our moving when we do school moving and things.
Yeah, they're very kind, and HISD will distribute it for us.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for coming on and
Thanks
sharing
for having us.
Coming up next, we'll meet 2 moms who are making sure thousands of HISD students don't succumb to the summer slide. We'll explain when HISD Up Close returns in a moment. For many students, the long break can lead to the summer slide. That's when students forget what they have learned or slip out of practice, especially when it comes to reading. Luckily, 2 HISD moms have come up with a creative way to keep HISD students reading over the summer. It's called Books Between Kids. And here to explain are Sandy Alhorn and Amy Barnes. Hi, thanks so much for coming on the show today. I understand that you ladies founded a group called Books Between Kids. Could you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Amy and I have known each other for many years, and we've each individually been doing book drives at our children's elementary schools and donating those books to other kids in need. But we've kind of been talking and decided that the need was much greater than the little things we were doing. So in November of 2012, we created Books Between Kids with a mission of putting books into children's homes.
Right.
Children that may not have any books or very few books in their homes.
And so I guess you guys were seeing that you had an abundance of books for your kids, and you knew there are other kids that are out there, and there's been a lot of research, I think, done that if you gave a kid something like 10 books over the summer, that their academic slide would be decreased greatly just by having access to those books in the home. And so how does it work? What are your goals, and who are you targeting between kids? I'm guessing kids are bringing books they've already gently used.
Yes.
So in our schools, where our children go to school, we host book drives, and children donate books from their personal libraries that they are finished with and ready to send on to someone else. And those books are then organized and delivered to the students at a school that is set up to receive the books, and then they're distributed to those children. We give a minimum of 6 books to each child at those schools, and keep them going on.
Who does the collecting and organizing?
Well, we look at parent volunteers most of the time to do that, so we reach out to the PTO of the schools. We had 5 schools that collected books this year for the program. Unfortunately, the number of schools in HISD that have the ability to have a large book drive are very small, and the number of schools that actually need books is
very large.
Yeah, about 85% of kids in HISD are on free and reduced lunch, and those are the kids that we're trying to get books to. So it's about 90,000 children.
Right, and so I heard this story that when you guys kind of put out an all call for books, you ended up with a big U-Haul truckload of books?
We applied for a grant with an organization called Better World Books, and they sent us an 18-wheeler full of books.
Wow.
The conversation started smaller, but they were very generous and very supportive of what we were trying to do here in Houston, and decided ultimately to send us somewhere around 70,000 books. And that's changed this year drastically for us. They have agreed to donate again for next year, so we do know that we can look forward to that.
And so have you all set up a 501c3?
We have filed the paperwork with the IRS. Amy and I started off saying, we'll just double the number of schools collecting books. We'll just grow slowly, we'll figure out what we're doing, this is great. And then the 18-wheeler came and everything changed. So
in a good way.
In a very good way.
How does that, so visualizing an 18-wheeler full of books, how does the volume of books that you collect in a book drive compare to that?
Book drives somewhere between, Westview probably has the biggest book drive, and you guys had over 8,000 this year. My daughter was at River Oaks Elementary this year, and that school collected about 3,000.
Right.
So 70,000 is a huge, that put us leaps and bounds ahead of where we can get with school collections. And if you picture the big pumpkin boxes that they have outside the grocery stores at Halloween, we got 46 of those.
Oh, wow.
We had a couple of hundred volunteers over the course of a couple of weeks. We borrowed a warehouse space, and we sorted and boxed 70,000
And so do you
books.
do like a grouping, age appropriate?
Yes. We try to put it into categories to make it easier on the schools that receive the books. Otherwise, it would take quite a lot of labor to get it all set up. It's still pretty labor intensive to get 4,000 books set out for your school, but we do our best to go through and take out the books that are too rough. The pages are torn, or because we want the kids, although they're gently used, we want them to have nice books.
Absolutely.
So we call from the donations. But we also receive donations from scout troops, from other organizations. We are not specific to school drives.
We do not yet have a website. That's one of the things we're working on.
It's on the to-do list.
We do have a Facebook page.
Okay.
It's Facebook.com/Books Between Kids, and we have lots of pictures posted on there of both the big book sort, as we call it, as well as some of the smaller drives and the kids receiving books.
And so if someone from a school were to watch this today and hear about it, I'm sure y'all have been featured in the Chronicle, people saw it, then what is expected of a school that decides they want to do a book drive? I'm sure you would love for them to sort the books and give them to you that way, or do you guys want to maintain kind of oversight of that to make sure it's done correctly?
We love it if they can sort the books, and we
Okay.
have categories, we have information that we can share with them to make it pretty easy. If they don't have the capacity to do that, we'll take them in any way, shape, or form we can get them.
Okay, and then, these are kids' books, so
Yes.
how have y'all found kids that take it on? They get very inspired by the chance to share their books that they've loved with other kids, and they really, walk the walk and talk the talk and get people excited about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Not just on an individual level, but because we've been doing it for a number of years at River Oaks Elementary, a lot of the kids there are very vested in this sharing of books program. And when we put out an announcement that we were short on some books, a student at River Oaks who is in a Boy Scout troop ran a drive himself through his Boy Scout troop.
Oh, wow.
A 10-year-old kid. So really it is a project that kids can feel personally involved with.
Right, and even, I know this is awful, but sometimes we end up with multiple copies of the same book, because I have 3 kids, and we'll purchase a book at the book fair, and then my youngest child the other day went shopping by himself at his book fair, and he came home with a book that I said, oh, we already have this book. Abby bought it at the book fair, and he devoured it and loved it, and it would be one, I'm sure families have the chance to do that and pass them on so that everybody has a chance to have access to those books in their homes.
And people can contact us through our Facebook page, or our email is booksbetweenkids@yahoo.com. Send us an email. We'll give you a location where you can drop the books off to. We are happy to take books.
And then both schools that are interested in being on the receiving end.
And we are looking towards next year. As Amy said, Better World Books has told us that they are willing to give us the same kind of donation. But really our vision, our dream, where we need to be headed is into a warehouse throughout the year, so that we can be receiving donations and sorting books from September and through March.
Kids could do this for their mitzvah project or for some kind of other service project. You could even have older kids who are kind of out of that stage that might be cleaning out their rooms or whatever that could do it as well.
And they're familiar with the books, so they know the categories, they know how to sort them. So it's a great kid project all ways around.
Well, thanks so much for coming on today, ladies, and for taking this on and then meeting the challenge. As someone else upped the ante, you guys stepped up to the plate and made sure that you kept going and spread the books to more people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A special thanks to all my guests on today's show. And remember, you can catch up with all the news happening on HISD by following us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. I'm Anna Eastman, and I'll see you next time.